Welcome everyone to this new session of mobile communication and computing. In this session, we will get introduced to last concept of our module, that is cellular system. What is cellular system? What's the meaning of word cellular in the cellular system? That we will see in this particular session. So let's begin. In the previous session, we had seen for communication we require network coverage and we need an antenna to provide that coverage. So we have assumed antenna called as isotropic radiator which transmit with equal power in all directions like a circle. So its radiation pattern look like a circle, but practically achieving this circle is not possible. Okay, so how are we going to achieve a radiation with equal power in all direction? That we will also see in this particular session. So what is a cellular system? Let's see that. Now in mobile communication, to enable the communication between all parties, all users must be provided with the electromagnetic radiation, that is frequencies. So there are large area that has to be covered. Larger the area, more the amount of power that will be required to transmit the radiation in that region. For example, if circle is small, at the center you have an antenna, you have to transmit only in up to particular direction so that users within that region will be able to communicate. But if you have large circle, you need a antenna which is capable of transmitting radiation up to larger distance, and larger distance means more interference and more problems. So covering the entire world with a single structure is not possible. That's why we need a cellular system. So in mobile communication, entire world or entire region of coverage is divided into a small regions, and that's why it implements, that is mobile communication system implements space division multiplexing. So we have seen what is space division multiplexing in the previous sessions of this series. So mobile communication system implements the space division multiplexing, in which entire world or entire region will be divided into different spaces, that is different smaller regions, and each region will be associated with one base station which will have an antenna to cover radiation among that region. So this small region which will be covered by a single base station is called as a cell. Now why it is called as a cell? Now we had seen that we cannot achieve circular radiation pattern. So in the sectorized antenna we had seen we can form beams of a different shapes and sizes to achieve an radiation pattern which will be closer to our circular pattern. So several beams can be formed and we can achieve the circular pattern using those beams. Now if we closely look at this, we will have different shapes which will be closer to the circular pattern. If we take a triangle, at the center we have a antenna and each direction is covered by a beam, then the shape may be a triangle. But in case of triangle, the amount of area which is not covered by the radiation will be more, like this. So triangular pattern is not desirable. Let's consider rectangle. Rectangle is also not closer to the circular because lot of area remains uncovered in rectangle's case also. You can take pentagon also. You can take several other shapes. As well as the more the number of sides to a pattern or shape, more complex it will be to construct. So hexagon is the best shape that gives you a coverage area which is closer to the radiation pattern of a circular. Less amount of coverage area remains uncovered by the transmission, and that's why hexagonal shape is mostly followed in the mobile communication system for achieving a transmission area of a desired circular pattern. So that hence the shape of the area is considered to be a hexagon. It is called as a cell. So coverage areas are said to be covered by hexagonal shaped cells which are closer to the radiation pattern of a isotropic radiator. So mobile station communicate with each other only via the base station. So if you have a cell within a region, there will be antenna at the center. Two mobile users can communicate with each other only through the base station. They cannot directly communicate with each other. So base station is responsible for communication between two users. Okay, so what are the advantages of creating this cell structure? The smaller the coverage area, the smaller the number of users it can accommodate. Larger the coverage area, that is larger the size of a cell, larger the number of users it can cover. So higher capacity it can be achieved with hexagonal shape compared to triangular or rectangular. And more number of users will be available to or will be able to communicate. Also, since shape of a cell will be hexagonal, the transmission power required will be less compared to others, because as it is closer to a circular pattern and size of a cell will be smaller compared to entire coverage area, as entire coverage area is divided into number of cells, the transmission power required will be much lesser. So if let's say we have a city like Mumbai, the coverage area for Mumbai will be divided into number of small cells, so that multiple antennas can be used for covering each cell. So less transmission power will be required for covering smaller cells. Okay, so advantage of cellular structure is more number of antennas used, and that's why lesser transmission power required. If we had used only single antenna to cover entire Mumbai region, we would have needed larger transmission power to cover such a large area. Then since we are dividing entire region in different cells, let's say take an example of 3 cells. Each cell is associated with base station, that is our provider of a communication channel. Now all these cells are part of a single region, let's say for example Mumbai. So people move from one region to another region, one smaller region to another region. So all these base stations need to communicate with each other to provide services to this particular user. Let's say this user who is currently in cell number 3, this is 1, this is 2 and this is 3. This user moves into this direction or this direction. Even if he moves into different directions, he should be able to communicate. So all base stations need to be provide services to this particular mobile user, and that is where this cellular structure provides the flexibility of decentralizing the process of service providing. The load on a single base station becomes reduced because of decentralized process. So it is more robust compared to covering entire region with a single cell, because wherever the user moves, only one entity or only one base station would have been responsible for providing services. Now it is divided amongst number of base stations. That's why cellular structure will be needed. Now another advantage of this decentralized process, the problem of interference will be tackled by number of base stations rather than a single entity. Also, the area that should be covered and in terms of transmission power, that will be also reduced. So base station will be key component of this cellular structure. Okay, then there are certain limitations also. Now as we have seen, the entire coverage region or entire city or entire district or entire state will be divided into number of cells. More infrastructure will be required because of there will be more number of base stations involved. Okay, so for each cell there will be a requirement of a fixed network for base station. That is one of the limitations, or we can say problems encountered in the cellular systems. Also another problem is that when a user moves from one cell to another cell like this, if a user in this particular cell and moves on to the next cell of a same region, that is let's say Mumbai, from western side to eastern side, let's say if he is still in the Mumbai, then there will be different base stations involved in the communication. So each base station will have a different frequency set available to it. Let's say this base station has a set of frequencies denoted by F1, and this set has a set of frequencies denoted by F2. When a user moves from first cell to second cell, his communication channel has to be moved from F1 to F2. So this handing over of communication channel is called as handover, changing from one cell to another, and that is required frequently in case of mobile communication because users will be mobile in that case. So that is a major problem which is tackled up to a very good extent in the modern day area. So that is second problem. The third problem, what if another neighboring cell uses the same set of frequencies, let's say F1 again. So this cell is using F1 and this cell is also using F1. Then there will be interference between users of two cells because this is also using F1 and this is also using F1. If they come close to each other, like on the boundary of two cells, they will be closer to each other. Then their communication will get interfered with each other. That is also called also one of the problems faced in the cellular system. So what is the size of these smaller coverage areas or smaller regions? That is cells. Now depending on number of users within that particular city or village or mid city, the sizes of cell vary from 100 meter, that is in city, because in city we have a more population concentrated in a smaller space. So cell size will be smaller in that cities, that is 100 meter, around 100 meters, whereas in countryside it can be extended up to 35 kilometers depending on population. Sometimes it can be lesser for higher frequencies. Okay, so cell size is dependent on number of users in that particular region. Okay, so now as we have seen, entire region will be divided into number of cells. As you can see in this diagram, there are different cells covering a region. Now let's say we have 10 regions or 7 regions. Each cell will be allocated a set of frequencies or group of frequencies, let's say F1, F2 and so on, because we know that frequency is a scarce resource. Let's say we have 100 frequencies for a particular region available. More number of frequencies, better it is, but different applications uses different frequencies signals. So let's say we have only 100 frequencies available. Now these 100 frequencies has to be divided into entire region for communication. So does that mean only 100 people will be able to communicate with each other? No. That's why we are creating cell structure. So we will divide entire region into smaller cells. Each cell will be allocated group of frequencies. Let's say this entire structure is divided into 10 regions. So total number of frequencies were 100. Each cell, there are total 10 number of cells. So each cell will get 100 divided by 10, that is 10 cells. So 100 frequencies divided into 10 cells, each cell covers 10 frequencies. So a proper frequency planning is required for allocating a group of frequencies to particular region. No two neighboring regions should contain same set of frequencies, and for that you will require frequency planning. So what is frequency planning? Frequency planning is a process of selecting and allocating group of frequencies for particular cell, so that there will not be any interference between two communicating parties. Okay, now as I said, entire region was divided into 10 smaller regions. Now those regions which are using unique group of frequencies will form a cluster. So cluster is nothing but group of cells having disjointed sets of frequencies. Disjointed means it will have unique set of frequencies for communication. So as you can see in this diagram particular on your screen, there are F1, F2, F3, F4, F5, F6 and F7. So there are 7 cells which are using different set of frequencies. 7 cells which are using different set of frequencies, F1 to F7. Again you can see F1, F2, F3, F4, F5. So this is called as reusing of a frequency. Okay, so frequency reuse only with a certain distance between base station. So if you see F1 is used over here, now F1 is used again in this particular region. There is a safe distance between these two. How much it should be, that we will see in this session afterwards. Okay, so standard model uses 7 frequencies. So what is the cluster size of this particular diagram? What is a cluster? Disjointed sets of frequency. There are 7 sets of frequencies. So cluster size, that is n, capital N, is equal to 7 in this case. 7 groups of frequencies, each group containing number of frequencies, let's say 10. Then n 7 into 10, there may be 70 frequencies available for communication. We will see this calculation later on. So important point is, what is a cluster, what is the size of cluster, then at how much distance you can use same set of frequencies again, that is frequency reuse, and what is the standard model using the cluster size, that is in this case 7. So let's see a little bit detail into it, how frequencies are selected and allocated to different channels or different cells. So let's say co-channel cells. What is a co-channel cells and what is the cluster size? Now we have seen what is a cluster size n. Cluster size is nothing but group of cells having same unique set of frequencies. In this diagram also there are 7 different cells using unique frequencies, unique set of frequencies. So cluster size is n is equal to 7. Now again this same set can be used by another cells also, but at how much distance, that we will see, and then we will see what is co-channel cells. Okay, so in this diagram the colored cells are using F1 set of frequencies. Now these are away from each other with a reuse distance of d. So distance between two cells which are using same set of frequencies is called as reuse distance. So frequency reuse distance d is defined as distance between co-channel cells. What is co-channel cells? Co-channel cell is a cells using same set of frequencies. Okay, cluster is group of different set of frequencies or unique set of frequencies, whereas co-channel cells are cells with a same set of frequencies. Now d is a distance between two cells using same set of frequencies. So how much it should be? Now we will see that in the video afterwards. Then comes a concept of reuse factor. How many times you can repeat a same set of frequencies within a coverage area? Here in this diagram only 2 times you can see F1 is repeated, but this is not an entire coverage area or entire city. This may not be the entire coverage area or entire city. So how many times you can repeat the entire set of frequencies, that will define the reuse factor Q. Okay, so that is given by, as you can see, d by r is equal to root 3 into n, where n is a cluster size. Okay, then total number of frequency channels available in the system can be calculated using a simple formula. S is equal to k into n, where k is a set of frequencies allocated to one cell and n number of cells in a cluster. So k is a set of frequencies in one cell. So let's say F1 has a 10 frequencies and n is a number of cells in a single cluster. Let's say in this diagram there are 7 cells in a single cluster. So 10 into 7, the total number of channels available in the system are 70. That's how you can calculate. Okay, then how can you calculate the capacity of the channel? What is channel capacity? Channel capacity is the number of users or number of times, number of channels that are used by the entire coverage area or entire system. So channel capacity is given by m into k into n. M denotes number of times the cluster is repeated to cover the entire region. In this diagram, 2 times it is repeated, but this may not be covering the entire region. So m number of times we are covering or repeating the cluster. Then within the cluster, each cell is using k number of frequencies, so into k, and within that cluster there are n number of cells. So number of channel that are used in the entire system is m into k into n. Okay, I am again repeating. M is the number of times cluster is repeated, k is a number of frequency channels in a single cell, and n is a number of cells in a cluster. So that defines channel capacity. So what are the valid sizes of cluster? In this particular diagram you can see cluster size is 7, that is n. Now how this n can be calculated? Can we take any number like 5, 10 or whatever number we want? So that is not the case. Now n is given by, as you can see in the diagram, a formula I square plus j square plus I into j. So what is I and j? Now I is a straight line direction over which you can travel, that is I, and then you have to change your direction in particular degree and reach the another cell. This distance will be considered as a j. So I is a straight line distance, j is a distance covered after changing the direction. So you can take different values of I and j, like 1 1. For 1 and 1, cluster size will be 1 square plus 1 square plus 1, that is will be equal to 3. For different numbers of I and j, cluster size will vary. Okay, so that is how we can calculate cluster size. So in this case we have a cluster size of 7. How it is formed? Let's say in this case you can see I is a greater than j. So how many number of cells are covered in a straight line direction? You can see 2 cells are covered in a straight line direction. So I is 2 and j is a number of cells covered in a direction after changing the direction. So j is 1. So n becomes 2 square plus 1 square plus 2 into 1, that is 2. So 4 plus 1 5 plus 2. That's why n will be equal to 7. That's why n will be equal to 7. So that is how you can calculate the cluster size. Now how can you calculate the physical distance, reuse distance between these two? The formula for calculating the distance, reuse distance, is given by d equal to root 3n into r. N is the size of the cluster, that is 7. 7 into 3, 21. So root of 21 in this particular example, n is equal to 7. So root of 21 into r. What is a r? R is a radius of a single cell. R is a radius of a single cell. So radius will be in the physical radius of a cell. So you can calculate reuse distance d, physical distance d, by using this formula. Then to calculate reuse factor, we use a formula called as d by r, that is reuse distance d divided by cell radius r, and it is calculated by root 3n. So these are the important technical concepts through which you can define how much smaller region you can cover for allocated frequencies. Okay. Now one question arises: who allocates these frequencies to each individual cell? Let's see. And what are the strategies adopted to allocate frequencies to each cell? So as you can see in this diagram, different cluster sizes involves different number of unique cells. In the first diagram, 3 cell cluster, where each cluster included 3 cells with unique set of frequencies. Then 7 cell cluster, each cluster using 7 cells using unique set of frequencies. Then there is another type. If you use sectorized antenna, then a cell can be further divided into number of smaller parts. Let's say this is our cell. Now I can divide this into smaller parts. Now this is divided into how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parts. So this is 6 sector antenna or 6 sectored cell. Okay, for that you have to use sectorized antenna. Each will be using a different group of or set of frequencies, f1, f2, f3 and so on. Okay, so but let's not get detail into that because this is just an introduction. So you can see from the diagram each one is using a different group of frequencies. So how to allocate channels to these cells? There are different strategies adopted. Primarily 3 of them there are shown. First one is a fixed frequency assignment, that is fixed channel allocation, FCA. FCA stands for fixed channel allocation. In fixed channel allocation, each cell is allocated fixed number of frequencies. That is, let's say 5 or 10. Let's say each cell will be allocated 5 number of frequencies. So that is fixed channel allocation. The problem is that if number of users increases in that particular smaller region, then there will be a problem. Let's say if number of users are more than 5 or if number of users are 10, which will be greater than 5, then how to allocate frequencies for communication? That will be a bigger problem. Then there is another scheme or another strategy that is called as dynamic channel allocation or dynamic frequency assignment. In this case, base station uses frequencies depending on already used in the neighboring cell. So whichever neighboring frequency is used in the neighboring cell, that will be avoided to avoid interference, and a dynamic value of a frequency will be chosen for communication without interference. Obviously, this dynamic allotment will be from the available set of frequencies only. Because of this dynamic channel allocation, more capacity is provided in the cells. Because let's say in a system we are having 100 frequencies. There are different cells involved in it. In some cells we are having city, in some cells we are having a countryside region. So cities will require more number of channels, whereas countryside require less number of channels or frequencies. So dynamic allocation will be done depending on number of users. So this allocation can be based on also interference levels also. Sometimes countryside will require more number of frequencies because of interference levels due to obstacles. So dynamic channel allocation provides that flexibility also. Then last is borrowing channel allocation, BCA, where if there are more number of users, like previous examples, more number of users than set of available frequencies, then you can borrow the channels or frequencies from neighboring cells which are not being used by the neighboring cell. So that technique is known as borrowing channel allocation. Okay. Then the system which are using CDM, previous system that we have seen in this particular session, they were using set of different frequencies, but in case of CDM all use same frequency and they are separated by codes rather than frequencies. Users are separated by codes rather than frequencies. So in CDM, the number of users within a cell, that is dynamically decided, and it is explained by the concept of cell breathing. Now we know breathing is shrinking and expansion of a particular cell. So in CDM technique, cells will commonly said to be breathing. So it can shrink if there are more number of users within a cell. More the number of users, less the capacity of the cell. So that's why users will automatically drop out of the particular cell. So in this diagram you can see this internal region is a shrinked version of a breathing, and external is a expanded version part of a breathing. Okay, so if you have less number of users, you can cover larger area because capacity of a cell will increase. That's why you can expand your coverage area. If there are more number of users, your capacity will be decreased, so you can shrink your region. This concept is known as cell breathing, and it is followed mostly in the cellular systems which use CDM technology, that is code division multiplexing. So this is all what we have studied in this particular session. So we will take quick review of what we have studied in the entire module, because this marks the end of a module 1. So initially we saw what is wireless communication, what is mobile communication. Then we had seen what are different advantages of wireless communication over the wired net communication. Then the spectrum, different bands which are used in the wireless communication. Then hardware required for it, that is antennas, types of antennas that were used in wireless communication in different application. Then signals, what is signal, what are the effects on propagation of signal like fading, scattering, diffraction, all these concepts we had seen. Then we are seeing multiplexing techniques that were used initially in the wireless communication, how they have evolved. Different multiplexing techniques we have used. We have seen new multiplexing technique called as SDM. Then we had seen a new technology called as a spread spectrum. This is primarily to avoid the frequency selective fading. What different types of spread spectrum we had seen, that is DSSS and FHSS. And the end we had seen cellular systems, that is used in the mobile communication, particularly in case of wireless communication. So what is cell, what are the different technical aspects of cell, how large number of users can be accommodated, how we can reassign the same set of frequencies to different cell, that we had seen. So this is our first module. In the next session we will begin with the second module. If you have any queries for this session, you can comment in the video. Till then, thank you.